Senior policy analyst with CFACT, Bonner Cohen, is joining me now. We want to talk about Antarctica. Good morning, Bonner. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Fawn, and I hope you are too.
I am. You know, my friends call me Fawner, so it's Fawner and Bonner right now on the radio.
That's right. Well, I've been called a lot worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I get called Fawner all the time. Doesn't bother me at all. So, you know, when the Russians were running to Antarctica and trying to do all kinds of stuff, we knew something was up, right? The Russians don't do things for nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So with that being said,
of course.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, Antarctica, of course, is a very fascinating place. The temperatures there are incredibly cold. There's a gigantic ice sheet there that over the history of the Earth has expanded and it has contracted. And during recent times, when there was a contraction, we were told by climate alarmists, this is yet another example of catastrophic climate change because Antarctica is melting. And if Antarctica goes, the polar regions in the North Pole will be soon to follow, and we will be dealing with a catastrophic climate event. Well, lo and behold, what happens? We have recently discovered that the ice sheet in Antarctica is expanding, actually, quite a bit.
Shocker.
So much for that horror story, because it doesn't fit the narrative. The narrative said, no, it cannot do that. It must shrink till it actually disappears. And of course, anybody who's familiar with the geological history of the world knows that expansion, contraction, what you see today isn't necessarily what you're going to see tomorrow. This has been going on since time immemorial. Mm-hmm. Recently, a few years ago, a big deal was made of shrinkage of the ice sheet in the western part of Antarctica. And this was cited as a sign of rising temperatures. It was nothing of the sort. Western Antarctica is very near undersea volcanoes. This was volcanism. And volcanoes have a habit of every now and then blowing their tops, right? Well, that's what happened here. And when an undersea volcano erupts, the water naturally gets warmer, bingo, the ice sheet melts. When the volcanism has done its thing, it disappears and the ice sheet expands again. So here was one of many poster children for irreversible climate change, which turns out to be absolutely not in any way, shape, or form rooted in any kind of scientific observations. In other words, it's a hoax.
Well, they don't want you to actually follow the science unless it comes to their science. So that therein lies the problem. But those of us who weren't born under a rock in the last 3 years, we understand how the weather works and the history of the world. And the history of the world is that the climate has always changed since the day the Earth was born. So I don't get alarmed by a little bitty change about something because it's normal.
That's exactly right. There have been times in our geological history when the entire Earth was covered in snow. It was called snowball Earth. And one fine day, a couple of volcanoes blew their stacks. All of that melted away, and the Earth warmed back up again. During the Middle Ages, as well as during the Roman period, not to mention when dinosaurs roamed the Earth, the planet was much warmer than it is today, and atmospheric levels of carbon dioxide were also higher. Carbon dioxide at no point in the past and at no point in the future will ever be a driver of temperatures. It's a lagging indicator. The whole narrative is simply designed to scare us to death so that we can be moved to buy EVs, put heat pumps in our homes rather than gas furnaces. This is all about manipulation. It has nothing to do with the climate.
Well, and anybody who ever paid attention in earth science in 7th grade knows that carbon dioxide is a good thing, because it kind of
Oh,
feeds the
very
plants.
good thing. The last thing you want to do is lower atmospheric levels of CO2. It'll be a catastrophe for agriculture. We have 8 billion people on the earth. We've got to feed them somehow, and you're not going to feed them with low levels of CO2.
Yeah, so stupid. So stupid on the left. They don't understand. I don't think they took any of those classes. But anyway, I couldn't figure out why Russia was so interested in Antarctica. They were over there doing all sorts of studies and sending over teams to evaluate this and to evaluate that and trying to stake claims in certain places. And I was like, there's got to be something under the ice. So now it turns out that it is rich with different kinds of minerals that could be valuable to the world.
Yeah, that's right. There's a tremendous race going on involving Russia, the United States, and China for minerals, rare earths, and other minerals. That's going to play a huge role in the world's future economy, as well as certain very key military applications. So yes, Beijing, Moscow, Washington, the Trump administration is really stepping up its efforts on this, because this is a race the United States dare not lose.
Right.
So yes, the Russians were there, the Chinese are snooping around there, and then the polar regions as well, because they currently have a near stranglehold on supply chain for all sorts of key minerals. Everything that goes into wind turbines, solar powers, and EV batteries is largely comes from China. Right. Which also processes this stuff. So they certainly see the strategic importance of this, and no surprise, the Russians do too.
Right, and so do we, but I'm pretty sure with this president, we're not going to have too much trouble getting there before everybody else, because he kind of just barges through the door. I love it. So,
yes, it does. That's part of what the whole Greenland thing is all about, because Greenland is loaded with these things.
Yeah, and I think he's more tongue-in-cheek about making it a state or buying it or whatever the case may be. He says these things just to get the dander up of the people whose dander is always up. And
that's right. That doesn't take much doing.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. And they're like, I can't stand him. I'm like, then shut up and sit down. Just, elections have consequences. But Antarctica is going to very soon become a very popular place. I would never live there. I did North Dakota for 30 years. I would not survive Antarctica.
That's enough, yes.
Yeah, I've done my duty. I've done my time. Thank you very much. It's someone else's turn. But it is going to be a place where people are going to have to go. They're going to have to go there.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Because the resources there are something that the world simply cannot do without. And in one form or another, all three of those major powers, which are not equal powers at all, Russia, of course, is actually undergoing a steep decline. The real rivals are the U.S. and China. But in order to stay in the game, the Russians are going to have to go there too. So we're going to be hearing a lot about Antarctica. But at least in terms of a certain narrative, climate change, that's now off the table, at least for the time being. These people have a very short attention span, and believe me, they'll be back with more horror stories about Antarctica or the North Pole or what have you.
Right. They'll figure something out to try to scare all the children into believing the garbage that they put out. But the bottom line is, if you're paying attention and you know what's going on around the world, including Antarctica, you will know that I've never understood underwater volcanoes, because they're underwater and water is like a coolant.
Yes, but they're down there.
I know. I've never understood them. They freak me out. But, I mean, if we didn't have them, we wouldn't have Hawaii.
As I said, they blow their stacks every now and then.
Yeah. So it's like, we wouldn't have Hawaii if it weren't for them. So we need
That's
them.
right.
But there are many of them that we don't even know are there. Because there are things in the seas and the oceans and the depths of the water that we can't go down to even check out, because we don't even have the capabilities yet. Imagine when we do.
Going down there. That's right. Including biological things.
Yeah.
Certain creatures. We think we know everything. No, we don't. There are creatures down there we know absolutely nothing about.
And quite frankly, they can stay there. I'm good with that. You know, I don't need to know.
I think they will.
I'm just fine. There are places in the jungle I don't want to go. You know, if they want to live there and be isolated, then leave it alone. That's why they're there. But if people want to read what was in the Daily Mail or what CFAC does, where do they go, Mr. Bonner?
Okay, just check us out at our website, which is cfact.org.
Pretty simple stuff. Thank you, Bonner Cohen. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.